From your perspective, how does that affect your job? What does that do as it relates to your considerations moving forward?
My job is to coach the players, and I got to do a much better job of that. We have to do a better job as a staff, and I think we will. And I'm excited about what's to come and where those guys are in terms of the vision of how to build the football team. So those things are all things that I don't control, but when the time comes time to coach, that's what I do control, and got to do a much better job than we did this year.
That was Brian Callahan with Chris Sims and yours truly at the Scouting Combine back in February. I had no recollection of that whatsoever, and it has nothing to do with potentially being overserved the night before. I just don't remember it. So much has happened between February and now. But I do remember the distinct feeling, Devin McCourty, when Chad Brinker emerged from this bizarre Game of Thrones that goes on in Tennessee. And let me just preface my comments by quoting my friend Big Cat, who says dysfunctional teams do dysfunctional things. And my twist on it is the dysfunction begins at the top. Amy Adams Strunk, like other owners, I don't know, Woody Johnson, Stephen Ross, but there's this strange dynamic in Tennessee where you fall in favor, you fall out of favor. And there's never a house cleaning. It's one of the guys there ends up being the person who has the owner's ear, and then out goes everybody else. So Chad Brinker kind of found his way into the good graces of ownership, hired Mike Borgonzi to be the GM. And that's when the handwriting's on the wall that the coach is in trouble, unless the coach does something. And when you had this has been one embarrassment after another for the Titans. I'm surprised it took as long as it did for the Titans to fire him, because when you got week one and you admit you didn't throw a challenge flag because you didn't realize getting an elbow down is the same as getting 2 feet down, that's bad. When you lose to the Colts and Michael Pittman Jr. says, I could tell before the game those guys weren't ready to play, that's bad. When you take the Titans back to Houston, the city they came from, and you don't score a single point against a team that was previously winless, that's horrible. And I thought he was getting fired then. I thought it was coming that day, but dysfunctional teams do dysfunctional things. Let's give it another week. So they get a win from the football gods, and then they throw it back with what Jeffrey Simmons said was their worst week of practice. You know, this is one of those moments where, and there's so much happening on a Sunday, it pissed me off yesterday because I should have known the moment that Simmons said that, this guy is done. And he was done.
It's alarming. And I'm sure Callahan sitting there when he saw that, it was like, I don't know Jeffrey Simmons, but as a player, when it's not going well and you go and say that, like that is the writing on the wall. That is, and the hard thing is, I feel like he probably, the coach might have said that, like it might have been a thing, and like, hey, this is not a good week in practice. But if it wasn't, and this is just Jeffrey Simmons from his time as a veteran playing the NFL, seeing how the practice week went, that's really bad. Like that's really bad for a player to look up Sunday and feel like, man, like I knew we were going to lose. Like our practice, that means the whole operation of what Tennessee was doing week after week, he thought was pretty bad. Like it reminds me of my brother's year in Cleveland when he was like, what we do doesn't make sense. Like it doesn't lead to wins. Like I played on a couple teams that were decent. He said, but I've talked to you every week. I talked to other guys around the league. What we do here is not going to yield any wins. And I think for Tennessee, you just said it as you talking about Miami, and when they have to play Atlanta, like they might have a new coach and they get that little kickstart. For Tennessee, like that's your plan a little bit of, hey, we're going to get this new interim. But now you got to play the guy that you fired that actually took you to AFC. Like, he's going to be more fired up. And I think he's not going to show it, but I think who Mike Vrabel is, that team is going to feel like we need to go get a win for coach. What he's now, guys that were there last year, 2 years ago in New England, it was bad. And I think what he's brought into that New England team, those players are going to feel like we need to go get this win for Vrabel. We need to go and do this because he was done wrong. And most of them won't even know what the heck happened, but they're going to have that feeling. But the interesting thing for me in Tennessee is, like, what are we doing here? Like what is the plan? Like, you firing GMs and you're firing coaches, then a GM, then a coach. Like, it just looks so ridiculous and it's laughable, but it's like, how does this change? Because we can't, like you always say, and then people say, you can't fire the owner. So like, why wouldn't this continue? And then what is the confidence that anybody has? Like, if I'm a Titans fan, why would I be confident that we're going to find the right head coach? Like, we just hired Brian Callahan and he's not the guy. Like, how do we know we have the right GM? How do we know we're going to get the right head coach? Like, that's just a bad graphic right there, especially when the one name that just sticks out is Mike Vrabel. And you're like, wait, he didn't choose to leave? You fired him? You like what? Why? Like, that makes no sense. And I don't know. I think it's still going to be a tough road ahead for Tennessee. I don't really see how this gets made right, how they right this shit.
Mike Vrabel last year was a consultant with the Cleveland Browns. He became a coach again a season after being fired by the Titans, and he shouldn't have been. And we've been on record saying that. That was just another example of dysfunctional teams doing dysfunctional things. Vrabel is 4-2 this year. The Titans are 4-19 since they fired Mike Vrabel. Vrabel has won as many games this year than the Titans have won since they fired him, and they've played 17 more. That in and of itself is a victory for Vrabel. And look, Devin, this is one of the most maddening things about professional football and professional sports generally. As I say from time to time, and I'm going to say it again in case you haven't heard it, or maybe you've heard it and you've forgotten it, you have to pass 2 tests to be able to drive a car. 2. Written and driven. You have to pass 0 tests to own a professional football team. 0. You just have to either show up with the biggest bag of cash, or you have to be related to the right person. And they didn't even get that right. Bud Adams founded the Houston Oilers in 1960 with the AFL. Moved the Oilers to Tennessee in 1995. They became the Titans, passed away. And his estate plan was a mess. 3 branches of the family tree. He split the team 3 ways, and his lawyers didn't tell him, hey, Bud, probably a good idea to give one of those 3 branches of the tree control over the team. It was a big fight, and if it was any other team, if it was a high-profile team, we would have known about it. I was tracking it. It was never a huge deal, but there was this weird stuff going on, and Amy Adams Strunk ends up emerging as the person in charge of the team. So the only thing she's ever done is won the battle with her 2 other branches of the family tree to get control of the franchise. There's no reason to think she knows how to own a team and operate a team, just like anybody who shows up with a bag of cash. David Tepper, no reason to think he knows how to own and operate a team. Stephen Ross, no, he just showed up with the biggest bag of cash. Or for some of these folks who are going to be right place at the right time, I inherited the team. That part of it drives me crazy as a fan, because you're just stuck. And Jed York, who right place at the right time, he said, before they hired Kyle Shanahan, things started to work out. You don't dismiss owners. That's the problem. That's a problem. And I've argued in the past, maybe they should be corporations. Maybe they should have boards of directors. Maybe they should have competent CEOs and not somebody who just happened to be in the right place at the right time. Or from the perspective of the fans, the worst place at the worst time. Because all the dysfunction, the teams that are chronically bad, Devin, it comes from the top. And in Tennessee, it's coming from the top. And it's obvious, and it's not going to change. And enjoy the rest of the season, and then they'll hire the wrong coach, and then that coach will be, or they'll hire the right coach, and that coach will get the ear of the owner, and Chad Brinker gets fired, Mike Borgonzi gets fired, and this weird cycle of partial house cleanings is just going to continue indefinitely.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And I think what you're saying is spot on. It's when your organization is built around who has the best relationship with the owner, you have no shot. There's no one actually evaluating performance, evaluating what the locker room looks like. And the reason Callahan is fired is because finally a player said something. It's not like somebody was evaluating what this looks like on game day, or like you said, not knowing the rules or anything. They were like, one of our highest paid players said we weren't ready to go. And I'm sure whoever you're talking about went to the owner and was like, see, look, this is what I said. You can see right here, they're not ready to go. And then boom, a change happens. But like we've seen that. I mean, even you talk about the Miami Dolphins, and I get everybody was like the way Flores treated the play, blah, blah, blah. Miami had back-to-back winning seasons. And when you let that go, and now you think you found the answer and you look back, and I think a lot of Dolphins fans are looking, it was like, man, like not only did we have back-to-back winning seasons, the feeling around the team and the way they played was a thing that people could enjoy going to. Now it's like a roller coaster. And I think no matter what people will say about Coach Belichick and his time in New England, when you went to watch a New England Patriots play or you turned them on TV, it was a standard and was a style that you could get accustomed to watching. Even now, when we watch the Pittsburgh Steelers or watch the Baltimore Ravens, even when they're not winning, there's like this little bit of faith that, they'll get it right. They got the guy there. And I think that's what teams need to search and find. Not the hottest guy or the guy that draws the best plays up. The guy or the woman, whoever it is that comes in that you say, even when things aren't going right, I think they'll get it right. And until teams do that, I think we'll keep seeing just this kind of cycle of new coach, fired, new coach, new GM, fired. It's a mess.
And they even bungled yesterday the whole situation of firing Brian Callahan and naming the interim. It took them like 3 hours to name Mike McCoy the interim. And that creates 3 hours of people wondering, are they going to do something more exciting than just finding the one former head coach on the staff who isn't, the guy we just fired's father? Because Brian Callahan's son, Bill, who's now leaving too, he took a team to the Super Bowl 23 years ago, but Mike McCoy has been a head coach, so let's just give it to him. Because I'm thinking maybe they're going to do a Jeff Saturday style hire. Maybe they're going to go get Mike McCarthy, who has ties to Chad Brinker, and he's available. Maybe they're going to get Eddie George from Bowling Green, Titans legend. So for a few hours, we're wondering, are they going to do something more inspired than just hand the keys to the obvious guy? So it's a mess. It's going to continue to be a mess, and ownership is the root cause of all the teams that are bad and that stay bad. Ownership is the root cause, and fans are in a damn thing you can do about it other than boycott the team, which means you have to deprive yourself of the thing you love.
My brother called and tried to put his name in, but they ignored this call, so he couldn't get the interim head coach job.
No, he tried to put your name in. He was trying to prank you.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.